Okay, I thought I would show you how I do my wreath frames. I use a 14-inch Dollar Tree wreath frame. You want to go around and make sure that everything is secure. Sometimes you'll get them and the rings are not soldered the way they're supposed to be, so you want to make sure that they're all attached correctly. If you have any broken ones, save them. You can cut them in half and use them for rails. Alright, so first I do the pipe cleaners. Today we're going to do two different colors, so we're going to alternate the colors. So I'm going to start at the crossbar. These are the crossbars here. There are 6 of them. So I'm going to go take top 2 rings and I'm going to wrap my pipe cleaner around that. And I'm going to pull it securely. Get it nice and tight. And then I'm going to go on to the opposite side. And I'm going to use the crossbar over here. And I'm going to do the same thing. Get it nice and tight. That way they don't slip and move around. So you see we've got one on each side right here. And now we're going to go and put 4 in the center here. We're just going to eyeball the measurements. And then 4 on this side. And that's going to give you your 10 on the bottom. So we're going to do that black here. We're going to space them out about 4 to 5 inches. It just depends. You want to pull them tight. You just don't want to bend your rings on your frame, but you want to get them tight enough that they don't slide around. This is not going to slide. If you have issues with sliding, put a dab of hot glue on the top and the bottom and they won't go anywhere. So I measure by the width of my hand. That's my measurement. So I just eyeball that. And then we're going to do our 4 on this side. I don't usually put glue on mine. I don't have an issue with them sliding around because I get them pretty tight. Alright, one more on this side. And if they aren't spaced out correctly, you can always scoot them over. Just take your frame, bend your rings just a tad, and slide that over. So you want to make sure you've got a good distance. You can use a measuring tape if you want. You can use your mat. There's the marks on your mat that'll help you with that as well. But usually eyeballing it is pretty good. All right. Then we're going to do the top rings. So there's 4 rings on this frame. Top 2 obviously is the top, or the bottom 2 would be the bottom. Alright, so there's our 10 rings, or 10 ties on the bottom. We're going to fold those down. Alright, now on the top, I'm going to take a crossbar right here. I'm going to do the same thing, the bottom 2 rings. Turn it around the opposite side, do the other crossbar over here. Now, because there's no crossbars going straight across here, we're just going to eyeball that. Try to get it as straight across as you can. Do the opposite side. You can line it up with the mat, with your lines on your mat to make sure it's semi-straight. If you don't have a mat, again, use a measuring tape. Alright, there's those. Now, you're going to go in between each of these, and that'll give you your 8. So there's your 2 crossbar, or 2 cross ones. Now we're going to put 1 in between each one. And I didn't do my alternating on the top, so we're going to have them mixed up, but that's okay. You'll still get the idea. So just space it evenly. Pull them tight and give them a twist. I've just always used the Dollar Tree wreath frame when I started making wreaths, mesh wreaths. There was a shortage on wreath frames, work frames, so I've just always used them and I'm more comfortable with them. I can make them however I want. I can change them up if I want to. But for the standard wreath, this is what I do. This one needs to be moved over. So I'll just undo that one and scoot it over. And then we're going to get it nice and tight. Alright? Let me point these up so that you can see the difference between the top and the bottom. There's our 8 on the inside of the rings. Okay? So if you have any trouble seeing those, you can see how they're tied on there. Alright? And that's how we do our work frame, or make our own work frame. Today I'm going to be using Susie's mesh roller. This is the Sidekick mesh roller. Holds 2 rolls of mesh, 10-inch mesh. I'm going to be cutting 2 at the same time. Let me get my blade out here. I'm going to cut off a clean edge. And I'm going to cut these at, I think, 30 inches. My mat is 36 inches. So I think I'm going to do 30 inches. So we're just going to cut these. I want 9 of them because that'll give me my 18 with 2 colors. That's 3. 4. Alright, we need 1 more. There we go. We have our 9 pieces all cut that quick using the mesh roller. Alright, so that's how you cut your mesh with the mesh, or with the Sidekick. This is the double Sidekick from Susie's Wreaths and Things. There is a link in the description. We're going to alternate these, and again they're cut at 30 inches. I'm going to fold over my end, just fold it over a little bit, and then I'm going to ruffle it right up the center. Try to keep it as straight as you can in the center. And then we're going to put that in our tie, and we're going to give it a couple of twists. Then we're going to open this up. There we go. Now it looks like a little flower petal there. Take the other color, do the same thing. Fold it over, and then ruffle it right up the center. Pull the sides up so that they're sitting against each other and not on top of each other. So you want to pull this one up, fan this out, and you want them to be side by side and not on top of each other. And that's going to give you a nice full wreath and cover your frame as well. So So we're going to continue to do that around the entire frame until it's filled. And then when I get to the bottom part, I'll show you that one. Oop, wrong one. And then ruffling up your mesh, you want to keep your thumbs at the back here, holding the mesh in place and pushing up at the same time, bringing your fingers back so that it's ruffling it in like an accordion. Last piece on the top. If you have trouble with your mesh staying out flat, you can lay something on top of it, a pair of scissors or your wire cutters or something, or anything that you have handy. Some people use their phone. You can throw it over the edge of your desk or your table. And then it's like an accordion. Okay, on the last piece, we want to make sure to pull both those side ones up. So we want everything standing up together. Yeah. There's our top. Alright, we're going to do our last piece now. And the reason I fold over the end is just to kind of help keep the frame down. I'm not doing a curl or anything like that. I'm just folding it over, tucking it in. And when I do the last part here, I also take that and tuck that in. Tuck it up underneath. And that kind of helps keep the frame down to a minimum. All mesh frames, there's nothing you can do about it. Doesn't matter how you cut it, but there are ways that you can keep it to a minimum using a good sharp blade on your rotary cutter. Some people use a wood burner, but you want to wear a mask. If you do that, make sure that you have a glass cutting board, tempered glass. But really you can do it with just a sharp blade on your rotary cutter. If you don't have a rotary cutter, just make sure you have sharp scissors. This wreath came as part of a kit from Hardworking Mom. Here's her card, Hardworking Mom. You can go to hardworkingmomstore.com. I also put my affiliate link in the description for you to click on. She may not have this kit available, but she does have other kits. I just have scrap pieces of wood. You can get things like this. This is a 12-inch flexi tail from Susan at AC Inspired Wreaths. There are other people that have boards like that too that you can get. I just have scrap wood that my husband cut up for me, so that's what I use. So I have a 14-inch and a 13-inch, and I'm going to show you how I do my ribbons. So these are the ones that came with the kit, and I'm going to use these for my tails. So I'm going to unravel that, and I'm going to wrap it around here. Let me do it this way. I'm going to wrap it around my board. This is the 14-inch. I want my tails to be 14 inches. So I'm going to wrap this around 9 times so that we can alternate them. Alright, so that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm going to cut that off. And then I'm just going to slide these off. Now you can cut them with your cutting mat. Measure them out and cut them if you don't have the tails or the boards. You can also get those at the Hardworking Mom store. She sells the ribbon cutting boards. So there's our 9 pieces. and then we will dovetail them. So I take 3 at a time if they're thicker ribbons. And then you want to go from the fold the end, fold to the wire, and cut at an angle, at a diagonal. And then that's going to give you your dovetail. Cut those little wires off at the end. Sometimes they stick out. So again, I want to go from the fold to the corner of the wire, and that's my dovetail. And you do that with all 9. And that's how you do the dovetail and how you cut your tails. So we're going to go ahead and do all the rest of our ribbon. So we've got another 2.5 inch here. I do the 2.5 inch on the 14-inch board. Okay, those were my 2.5 inch ribbons. Now for my 1.5 inch ribbons, I like to use a 13-inch board. So now the reason I do the 13-inch on the 1.5 is because when you put them together, the 1.5 sits nicely inside the 14-inch. So it doesn't overlap it, it's not too short, it sits right inside that dovetail, right there, and makes it almost the exact same size. So I'm putting the ladybug with the black, and I'm going to put the red with the black plaid, the red polka dot with the black plaid. So there's my 2 ribbons I'll be using in my wreath. That's just the way I like to do it. You don't have to do it that way. You can do them all 14. If it works for you, you do what works for you. This is what works for me. All right, now we're going to put our ribbon tails on our wreath frame. So I'm just going to alternate. I'm going to put the black plaid in with the red, and I'm going to put the red ladybugs in with the black. So I'm going around the bottom and opening up my ties, cutting off any frays I see. Alright, so now we're ready on the bottom here. So I'm going to put my black plaid with my red with the black polka dots, and I'm going to put my ladybugs with my black and white polka dot. So I want to put these together. I'm going to fold them in half, find my midway point, make a little line there, open it back up. Now you can scrunch it in your hand, or you can scrunch it like I do here on the table. I like to do it on the table. I'm going to give these a little fluff, kind of like a crease, or not a crease, I'm sorry, give them a little lift so that they're kind of bowing out. And then I'm going to pull them towards me so that when I put them in my wreath or in my tie, they're already going in the direction I want them to. And then I give them a little lift. I don't separate them right now. I do that all later because they're just going to get all messed up anyway as you go around. But before I take pictures, I make sure to do that. So the ladybugs are going in all different directions. So we don't have to worry about them going in the right or wrong direction. Again, I'm folding that in half to find my midway, scrunching it up. I'm going to give it some lift by pulling on it and just running my thumb underneath it and my fingers over the top. and that gives it that little bird like wing look. And then I'm going to bend it towards me, and that gives it a nice look for me. You do it your way. This is the way I like to do it. But if there's another way that works for you, then by all means do that. It's all in what works for you. So I'm going to go ahead and separate all of my ribbons here. Make it a little easier to alternate them. And we're going to do this all the way around the wreath. Now, some people like to spread them out so that they're like this, so that you have the red, the black, the red, the black. Other people like to fan them out in like an X pattern. I like to keep them as a V down here at the bottom. Now at the top you can change it, but down at the bottom I like to keep it in that V pattern. Alright, that was the last one on the bottom. We're going to start on the top. Now on the top you want to go straight up to the next one and just do the same thing. Put your ribbons in. We're going to start with this one. Now on the top you can crisscross them like I said, or you can leave them in the same V pattern. However you want to do it. You can also cut off your ties if you're not planning to put anything else in your wreath. Just twist them a couple of times and then cut off any excess that you're not going to be using. Now you can add other embellishments and things into your wreath if you've got them, like flex tubing, florals, things like that. But the tubing would be the only thing I would think I would need, unless you're going to put in any kind of little extra bows or anything that you would need your ties for. So up here on the top, you can take those ribbons and do the X pattern, or you can leave them in that V pattern. There's the difference. It's just a matter of how you like it. I'm going to leave it in my V pattern for myself. We might change that after we put the sign and everything on. Alright, last ribbon going in. Going to take it again, lay them on top of each other, fold it in half, get our center mark, open that up, and I'm going to ruffle it. Now you can do this in your hand if you want to do that, but this is the way I do it. It just works for me. Give it a little lift, bend it towards me, and put it in that last tie. And there we go. There's our wreath with all of our ribbons on. Alright, this is called flex tubing. You can get this at the dollar store. You can also get it at any of the other craft stores. All it is a mesh tubing. It's kind of flexible. And we use this in our wreaths and other things. You can put it in a bow. You can put it in your wreath. I like to add these to my wreaths. So I've got this dark red. I call it candy apple red. And then what I do, and it's not all bunched up like that, is I use my mat and I cut 24 inches. Now you don't want to stretch it out because it'll shrink up if you cut it that way. You want to just lay it down and cut it at that measurement. And when you do it, if you do it like this with your one cut piece, trying to measure it out, make sure you're not pulling them too tight. And then I'm just going to cut, let's see, sometimes I do just the top, sometimes I do just the bottom ties. Other times I'll do the top. That one's too long. And bottom. So I think we're going to do top and bottom today. So I'm going to cut 18 pieces of each of these. Alright, I've already got 2 cut pieces here. Let's see what the measurement is. 24. And a little more than 24. And about 24. So there's 3 pieces. Now if you ever get a kink in your tubing or a fold or anywhere where it's squished together, you can just take that mesh and do it like an accordion unto itself where that kink is, and just do it like that, and it'll take that kink right out of there. Okay, there's our 18 pieces of black and our 18 pieces of red. So we have enough to put in every tie. So I take a red and a black. If they're not the same length, it's okay. Just snip it off. And I put them together, fold them in half. Then I fold them in half again. And then I twist in the center, so it makes a little bow tie. And then I put that in my tie. I'm going to give that a couple of twists, and then I'm going to cut off my pipe cleaner. And there we go. Let me do another one for you, and then I'll show you what they look like. I'm going to take my red, my black, put them together. I like to alternate the ends, so it's red, black, fold them in half again, give it a twist, and then put it in your tie. Now you can make them as long as you want. I just like the 24-inch length. I don't like them to be big and loopy because this wreath doesn't really call for that. There we go. So there's the 2 that we just did. Okay, I'm going to do that all the way around my wreath. We'll do the same thing on the top as we did on the bottom. Put it in every tie. Clip off our pipe cleaner, fold that down, and then we'll stand that up. All right, last one. Again, fold them in half, fold it in half again, pinch in the center, give it a twist, and put that in your tie. Tie a couple of twists, cut it off, and fold that over. And then I like to bring the tubing to the, pull it forward so it sticks out. There you go. I'm going to pull all this forward, and that way it doesn't get hidden by any of your attachments. Alright, this is the sign we're going to be using. This one is a 7x9. This is a 7x9 sign. We're going to be using this with the ladybugs. This came as part of the kit from Hardworking Mom. So I put the link in the description if you want to check out her shop for all her kits. Alright, what we're going to do with the sign is, this is called a beadsmith. You can get these at the craft store in the jewelry department. You can also get them on my supply list. There's a link that takes you to purchase these. So you can get them in a number of places. So this is a beadsmith. It punches a little 1.5 millimeter hole into the sign, the metal sign. So I'm going to do, let's see, for our wreath we're going to do, let's do top and bottom. So all I'm going to do is put that where I want that, and I'm going to punch down, and it leaves a little tiny hole that you can't barely see. And I put it right where the little black dot is, so that makes it even harder to see. So there we have two little holes right there. There's one here, and there's one right here. And I'm going to use 26 gauge silver wire. If you had red or black, you could use that. As a matter of fact, let's use some black. We'll use some black. 26 gauge floral wire. You can get this at any craft store. You can get it at the dollar store. We're just going to cut off a nice long piece so that it goes through our mesh and everything all the way to the bottom of the frame. There's our two pieces. We're going to put our wire through our sign. And this wire will not be seen when it's on the frame or on the wreath. I'm going to pull those together so that they're even. And then we're going to give it a twist in the back. Hold that, and then I'm going to twist the sign. Do the bottom again. We're going to put our wire through that hole, even them up, give it a twist on the back, and then you want to twist your sign, not your wire. There we go. There's our wires. Now we're going to attach the sign to the wreath. Pull the wreath back up. I think I'm going to put my sign right here on the right hand side. So we're going to use our weaving needles. So these are weaving needles here. These are 6-inch plastic needles. They have a blunt edge so they're not sharp, and they have the wide eye so you can fit pipe cleaners and thick wires and that through there without any problem. These are great for putting your attachments on your wreaths. It goes right down through all your mesh. You can use them on grapevines because they bend. You don't want to bend them too much because they'll break, but they will bend to go through those tightly woven grapevine wreaths to put your attachments on there. So I have these in my shop at wreathdecorbydon.com. You get the 6-inch, or you can choose the 3.5-inch. You can also use these for sewing, teaching kids how to sew. And you can use it if you knit or crochet to tie off your ends. So I'm going to take the wire and I'm going to put it through the eye, fold it over just a little bit, and then I'm going to take that and go straight down into my wreath. I'm going to feel underneath so that I make sure that wire goes to the frame. So I'm going to pull that down. Just get it nice and tight. Go. We're going to pull that down, and then we're going to separate those wires, and we're going to make sure that one wire is on each side of a ring of the frame And that's what we're going to tie to. Never tie off to your mesh, always tie off to the frame. Your mesh can rip and then your sign will come off. So we're going to give that a tug, a slight tug, not a good tug. We don't want to have it sunken down into our wreath. You want it sitting on top of your mesh and everything. We're going to go right down here. And again, I'm going to feel underneath and make sure that it's in between my rings. Pull it down. Take that needle off. And again, we're going to separate those wires, and I'm going to put one on each side of the ring. And I'll show you on the back what I'm talking about. Give it a little tug and just twist your wires. There we go. Now you're not going to be able to see the wire because it's black, but this is the ring I'm talking about. The bottom ring of the frame, I want to tie it to that or twist it around that. Cut this piece off here that got snagged. Keep that out of the way. And there's our sign. Then you just cut off the excess wire. You don't need that. And that's how you attach your sign. Alright, let's make a bow. I'm using an easy bow maker. You can get these in the Hardworking Mom store also. If you just click on my affiliate link up in the description, it'll take you right there to her shop, and you'll find these in her shop as well. She also has the new, bigger deluxe one. Alright, so these are the ribbons that came with our wreath that we used in our wreath, so we want to use those for part of our bow. And I've added some other ribbons here that I have. So we've got this one white with ladybugs on it that we can use, but we already have this one. So we've got that and that, but I think we're going to use it anyway. Then we've got our black and white polka dot and our red with the black dots. So I think I'm going to use this one here with the plaid with the ladybugs. Don't think I'm going to use this because we don't have any of this natural color in our wreath, but we are going to use a solid red and a solid black. So let's start with our 2.5-inch ribbons. So these are extra ribbons that I had that do not come with the kit that we're going to add to it. So I think I'm going to use this one. Let me see. I think I'm going to use this one on the bottom. Unfold it here. Alright, so I'm going to do about a 12-inch, 10 to 12-inch tail. My board is 8. From here to here is 8 inches. So I'm just going to use my mat as a guide. And I'm going to go about 10 inches. And I'm going to twist my ribbon. And I'm going to put it down in there. So there's my tail that comes down. We're going to make a loop about 5.5 inches, just about to the 6. Scrunch that down and we're going to twist that. And then we're going to do another 5.5 inch, almost 6-inch loop. On this side, I want it just about to that 6. We're going to scrunch that down, and then I'm going to pull this one up. So we're going to have a tail going up and a tail going down, and then our 2 loops on the side. I'm going to do that. We're going to put our black in. I'm going to do the same thing, do a 10-inch tail. Give it a twist. And this one is going to be just slightly smaller. So right about 5 inches. Give it a twist. So you're bringing that wrong side up so that you can go over and into your 2 dowels here. This one is going to be just under. Scrunch that down, and again that tail's going to come up. So then we're going to do like an X pattern here with our loops. I don't know if these bows have any names. I don't know any of the names of bows. I just make a bow how I like it. Now we're going to go in with our other ribbon here. Same thing, 10-inch. Whoops. Scrunch it up first. And this one's going to be slightly smaller again. So each one will be slightly smaller than the last. That way you can see all of your ribbons when you fluff out your bow. So this one would be about 4.5. Twist that. Oops. I want to make sure that they're sitting right. And then again, we're going to cut this one off. Right now we're going to go in with our 1.5 inch. I'm going to go ahead and use the black with the white polka dots. And this loop will be about 4 inches. Now I'm going to go in with the red with the black dots. May not need those solid ones. We'll see. Again, we need this down here. I want all these tails, long tails down here. These up here we're going to cut shorter. But for now I want the long tails down at the bottom. Let's see, I want to do, yeah, I'll do that. These are going to be about 3.5 inches. And then I think we're going to go ahead and finish it off with this plaid. Might put a red loop on the top just to do our center loop. We'll see. Alright, there we go. Let's see. It's a little long. I think I'm going to take about an 8-inch piece of this solid red. I'm going to take that, I'm going to fold it in half. I'm going to scrunch it up about an inch at the end, and I'm going to slide that in here, and that's going to be our center loop. I'm going to take 2 zip ties. I'm going to take one long one and one 8-inch. I'm going to put that 8-inch underneath all of these loops. Make sure I get all of my ribbons in that zip tie. Get it tight, not too tight, but just tight to hold everything together. I'm going to grab everything on this one side and I'm going to pull it up and I'm going to hold it in place. And when you take this off of there, you're going to have a little divot in the center where your 2 dowels were. You want to bring your zip tie over into that spot. Right there. There we go. Pull that zip tie around to the back so that your locking part is on the back. Keep all of this in place, and I'm going to take this zip tie and I'm going to go up underneath, and this is the one we're going to use to attach it to the frame of the wreath. So I'm going to hold on to those, make it a little bit tighter. There we go. And now we're going to fluff our bow. Alright, so the center loop is a little long, so before I tighten it down, I'm going to pull it out. I can cut off the excess. So I want to make that loop a little bit smaller. Take your scissors and just cut off that excess. There we go. Alright, now we can tighten it a little bit more so that nothing comes undone while we're fluffing. Now, just take your fingers and you want to fluff up those loops. Pull all your tails down to the front or to the side or to the back, however you're doing it. Get them where you want them, because once you tighten this zip tie down, everything's going to stay right where it's at. So we're going to fluff these out. This is my top, this is my bottom. I'm going to spread these out because I want to cut these and dovetail them. Okay, I think we've got everything where we want it. All these tails are down front. All these up here are going to be cut. Just get them where I want them. Alright, now we can pull this tight. And if you can't do it with your hands, use a pair of pliers and pull that nice and tight with your needle nose pliers. Make sure everything's where it's supposed to be. Alright, let's dovetail these real quick. So we're just going to take and fold them. And again, you're going to fold, or cut, I'm sorry, cut from your fold out. That's going to make your dovetail. Fold. Cut. Alright, so those look good there. Let's cut this last one. I'm going to cut this one a little long. Don't want them all the same length. I want you to be able to see them. Oh, missed one. There we go. Okay, there's our bow. So it's going to sit on there like that. We'll dovetail these once we get them on the wreath, but these are our top ones. Alright, here's our wreath that we made. Now we're going to put our bow on top. We're going to put our bow right next to our sign. So I'm going to make sure this is pulled tight. I'm going to cut off this black excess tie. We have the two white ones here on the back. This is what's going to attach to our wreath frame. So I'm going to pull that down. Just move the mesh out of the way for the zip tie, and then make sure that it goes around the frame. There it goes, right there. Now you don't want to pull it too tight. You want it just enough so that it locks in, and then adjust it from there. You don't want to, if you pull it too tight, see how it pulls down? It'll pull it and it'll sink in. You don't want it to be sunken in the middle. So we're going to pull that back up, fluff it out, get our ribbons and tails going where they're supposed to. I want all these pointing up. And then on the bottom, we want our other tails. So we're going to pull these down. And we're going to dovetail those as well. And again, don't do them all the same length. Make them all different. So I'm just cutting off very little bits. I like to leave my 1.5 inch longer so that I can curl them. And I'll show you what I mean by curling them. There we go. Alright, so I want to take you can use a wooden dowel. You can get these at Walmart in the craft section. They have a pack of 3 of them. They're 12-inch dowels, 3/4 of an inch thick. And that's what I use. You can take your 1.5. You can do this with 2.5. I just like to do it with the 1.5. And you can curl it around the dowel and then pull it out and just kind of give it a little tug. Do them in different directions. Give them a nice little curl. You can, like I said, you can do the 2.5, but I just prefer the 1.5. There, just give them a little character. These up at the top, we're just gonna give them a lift. Use that dowel to give them a little lift. We want them to stand up. There we go. And there's our bow on our wreath. Hold that up for you. Just a quick and simple bow to make. There's other bows. You can make any type of bow that you want. So there is that. There's our finished wreath. Now you can add flowers, you can add any other kind of attachments. If you had some ladybugs, you could add those. Just wire them onto your wreath, or use a really strong glue. I use Gorilla Glue, and I have not had any issues with Gorilla Glue. So, alright, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope you'll make one of your own wreaths.